right. Last week, I think I said I want to talk about the 99 names of Allah. Someone suggested that we talk about like the fundamentals of Al-Islam, or begin with those, particularly since we are getting newer members, or newer members are coming in. Funny thing today is none of the newer members are here, so this will be a refresher for Muslims who already know about it. It's never too bad to remember Allah and what His attributes. So I also thought that I should, I've been thinking about this for a while, is doing a 3-minute interval, because you know how everybody is busy. Everybody, I was just talking to the brother, everybody's busy, they have things to do. They don't have time to sit and listen to an hour-long lecture, or 30-minute, 45-minute lecture. So I was thinking about doing like a 3-minute interval where I just talk about some specific topic, particularly on comparative religion, which I'm most interested in, and just talk about that for 3 minutes, and then continue on with the topic of the day. So the topic is going to be 99 names of Allah, but I wanted to do something. Now this 3-minute interval may not necessarily correlate to the topic at hand, just some things that I want to talk about, and I want to do it kind of conversational, because if you meet someone on the street, they may ask you a certain question and answer it in 3 minutes. So that's what I'm going to try to do today. We'll see whether this works or not, and then I can break it down on the camera for a 3-minute interval. So I'm just going to do a little stopwatch, and the topic is going to be on does God exist? So since I'm talking about the 99 attributes of Allah, I want to talk about does God exist? Because if you talk to someone who's an atheist or agnostic and you tell them about the 99 names of Allah, they don't even believe in Allah. So, that's the first step. The first stage is convince them of Allah. It's kind of like teaching somebody what's 2 + 2 if they don't believe in mathematics. If they don't believe in mathematics, then there's no need to talk about it. So the first thing I would think about is our existence, is that we exist today. We are flesh and bones. We walk around, we think, we dream, we do all those things. So how did we come into existence? And if I generally like to talk to people, not necessarily about religion, but about science, because Allah made science, right? So you don't have to put people off by saying Allah or Al-Islam. If they're talking about the existence of God, you can talk about it in that context. So science says that 14 or 13.8 billion years ago, the universe came into existence. So I was talking to my sister yesterday, and I told her the truth can be answered the same way a child answers asks any question. Why? So if you ask any question, why, ultimately you will get to find the answer that you are seeking. So if you say, why did this happen? Or why did this happen? Or what happened before that? So if it was 13.8 billion years ago this universe came into existence, what happened 13.8 years ago in 1 second? According to science, there was nothingness. I think his name was Bill Bryson, who said there was absolute nothingness. There was no time or space before the universe existed. And then it came into existence. Now, using logic and reasoning, we would deduce that if something came into existence, something brought that into existence. So whatever it was that brought that into existence had to be a conscious being, because it brought it into existence consciously. So there are 2 different causes. There's a mechanical cause and a personal cause. A mechanical cause is one that is like if you have a fan that blows a ball, and then the ball goes into a hose and turns on a radio. That's a mechanical cause. A personal cause is a being outside of that system that causes it to move. So the mechanical cause, it's necessary for it to have a personal cause. In other words, that won't work. The fan won't start unless someone outside of the fan in the system turns the fan on. So in other words, it had to be a conscious being that turned this universe on. And I got about 20 seconds left. So whatever that personal cause is outside of the system, outside of the universe. So that being that we believe in, it is the creator. So there's no scientist who will even argue against a intelligent being or a creator, because ultimately there is no rational response or no rational rebuttal to that statement. The alternative is that the world came into existence without a creator, which is the most magnificent, the most illogical, the most incredible thing that could possibly happen, is that the universe and everything in it came into existence without a creator, without any cause at all. It just caused itself. Or the other one is that it has always exists, which is actually contrary to science, because science and the Big Bang theories would suggest that it began 13.8 billion years ago. So in order to believe that the universe always existed and expanded and increased and decreased is actually counter scientific fact. So the existence, though the belief, it's not even to me a belief that God exists. I know he does. It is illogical to believe otherwise. So that was a little bit more than 3 minutes, but that was actually came in 4 minutes. But yeah, I'm doing 4 minutes intervals now. So now we're going to get into the 99 names of Allah. So the Quran not only mentions 99 names of Allah, but it also mentions several descriptions of Allah. And obviously this is not my work. This is the work of people who have compiled the 99 names of Allah and the descriptions of him. But again, all knowledge and all truth comes from Allah. So it's not anyone's knowledge that they can have themselves, or any knowledge that we have comes from Allah. So I can attribute it to someone else for compiling it, but ultimately Allah is the author of all truth. So one of his descriptions in the Quran is not, before his 99 names, is the most just of the judges, the entitled to forgive, the entitled to be feared, the knower of the seen and unseen, the knower of unseen things, the most merciful of the merciful, the swifter of reckoning, the swiftest of reckoners, the possessor of the throne, shower of blessings, shower of immense blessings, the exactor of revenge, the possessor of painful retribution, the Lord of ascending steps, the possessor of forgiveness, the possessor of strength, the possessor of mercy, the possessor of boundless mercy, the possessor of abundance, he who splits the seed and the kernel, the bringer into the being of the heavens and earth, the forgiver of sin, the God of mankind, the best of the deciders, the best of judges, the best of forgivers, the best of guardians, the best of judges, the best plotter, the best to bring to land, the best of helpers, the best of the merciful, the best of the providers, the best of the inheritors, the true king, the master of the kingdoms, the king of mankind, the master of the day of recompense, the light of the heavens and earth, the acceptor of repentance, the Lord of the worlds, the Lord of the throne, the Lord of daybreak, the Lord of the house, the Lord of everything, the Lord of the two east, the Lord of the two west, the Lord of east and west, the Lord of mankind, the Lord of might, the Lord of the seven heavens, the Lord of heavens and earth, the raiser of ranks, the severe in punishment, the severe in retribution, the swift in retribution, the hearer of prayers, the vast in forgiveness, and the one who brings the dead to life. Now, when I think about just these descriptions of Allah, I think about what Allah is trying to tell us, in that this is the last revelation given to mankind. And he is saying he is the best of everything, and we should think of him as such. This morning I was working today, and I had a couple of my coworkers with me, and we were talking about a bunch of different things. And oftentimes I'm thinking about coming in here and thinking about what I'm going to say today. And I think about what other people think about. Or do they ever consider Almighty God, the Creator? Or how often does he come into their thought process? During the day, they were talking about all kinds of things, not to suggest that you can't think about anything other than Allah, but when does Allah come up? The King, the Master, the King of everything, the King of mankind, the one who has brought about your existence and the existence of your children, your family, and all those things. When do you think about him? When do other people think about him? Muslims are obligated to think about Allah at least 5 times a day. So even if you miss your prayer, you should be thinking about, I should have prayed to Allah. You know what I mean? That's how Muslims should be thinking. That's how we think, you know, that we feel ashamed that we didn't give homage and thanks to Allah for giving us this day. And this is before even the 99 attributes of Allah. So in the, also I was talking to another person when I do this like fitness workout, right? This boot camp workout. And I was talking to this person who was a Christian about religion, and he said, "Are you talking about God or Allah?" Right? And it's always surprising to me that people still don't realize that we worship God. You know, that everyone who is of speaking Arabic, who is a Christian or a Jew, calls God Allah. So he thought that Allah is something different. And he was being sincere. He wasn't being facetious or anything. He just was asking me, am I talking about Allah or God? Because you know, there's two distinct things here. You know, at least that's what he had in his mind until I explained that to him. Now also, when looking this up, or the 99 attributes of Allah, and I'm ecstatic that we have the Imam here with me, because I had some questions about this. When looking it up, there was it is said that Rabb, or the Lord is not one of the 99 names of Allah. Is that correct? Okay, I had always thought so. So the other great thing about doing this research and talking to you all is that I learned things too, and I could have sworn that if someone asked me 2 days ago, I would have said, yes, that's one of the 99 names of Allah. Even though the Imam has given me, it's in my house, right by my door, I always thought Rabb was one of the names of Allah, just because Rabb is mentioned so many times as Lord, you know. So I thought that was 99 names of Allah. Now someone had mentioned previously, you know, that Christians call God Father, which is Ab, but Allah does not use that word to describe him at all in the Quran, but Rabb, which is, the R is added to it. So he could have said Father, but we don't use that terminology, and I think it was not done on accident. I think Allah wanted to make sure that we eradicated calling him Father, because it would lead to people thinking that he had sons and daughters. So again, Allah and Al-Islam is coming to correct and complete previous scriptures and previous understandings or misunderstandings. So he could have said, call me Ab, but then we would have the misunderstanding that some Christians and Jewish people had. And some of the mushriks had before the Prophet came. So, and in one of it says, all the most beautiful names belong to Allah. So call on him by them, and leave the company of those who belie or deny them, or deny his names. They will be requited for what they used to do. In another ayah it says, Allah, la illallah illa huwa. None has the right to be worshipped except him. To him belongs the best names. He is Allah. In another ayah it says, he is Allah, the creator, the inventor of all things, the bestower of forms. To him belongs the best names. And it is narrated in the hadith by Abu Hurairah that the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam says, Allah has 99 names, 100 minus 1, and whoever knows them will go to paradise. So this is another reason why I guess it's important that even if we know the 99 names of Allah, which I told you I thought I knew 99 names of Allah, that we should try to put them to memory. And another hadith mentioned, which is also reported by Abu Hurairah, this is in Muslim, the other one was in Bukhari, it says that the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam was recorded as saying, verily there are 99 names for Allah, 100 except one. He who enumerates them will go into paradise. And Hamim has made the addition on the authority of Abu Hurairah to report that the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam says he, or talking about Allah, is odd and loves odd numbers. So obviously Allah is one and he is unique. So his attributes are unique. You know, I was talking to someone one time, he said his name was, or his name, at least on Facebook, was Al-Hakim something else. I said, how's your name the-wise? like, are you saying you have all the wisdom, you have all the knowledge? And he was, I believe, a 5%. So I was trying to explain to him the difference between being Hakim and Al-Hakim, you know, and he's changed his name, but he's changed it a bunch of different times, so I don't know if the message sunk into him that Allah's attributes are absolute. Like he has all the wisdom. So he is the wise. Everything of wisdom that is to be known comes from Allah. So you can't be Al-Hakim. You can't be Al-Aziz. You can be Aziz, but you can't be the mighty or the Almighty. Which is, again, testament to our Tawheed and our understanding that Allah is one and he has the attributes of greatness. All of them are bestowed upon him. And we can, I like to put it this way, that and I looked these words up to make sure I was saying it correctly, is that a human being can be godly, but they can't be godlike. So the definition of godly, let's see if I can find it here, is one who is devoted religiously or pious. Godlike is someone who is said to be resembling God, or a God in qualities such as power, beauty, and benevolence. So we can't be God-like. We can't be resembling God or have the qualities of God, but we can be devoted and pious. Perhaps we can be one in accord with his purpose, as if Allah wants us to be merciful, and we try to be merciful, but we can't be God-like. So in the Quran, it also mentions Ar-Rahman. It says, say, call upon Allah or call upon Ar-Rahman. Whichever name you call, to him belongs the best names. Now, I thought about this, because it said a couple times he has the best names, or he has the most beautiful names. And I thought about people calling God, God, or people calling him. I was also today when I was working, I was at work, one of my coworkers kept saying Jesus, and I noticed she meant God, right? But when you say Jesus, even if you believe Jesus is God, you think of a human being in your mind, and whenever she's saying that, or even when she's saying it to me, there's a human being that comes into play. So to me, that's not one of the best names and one of the most beautiful names to call Allah. Or if you call him Rasta, Rastafari, or Farad, you think about a human being who is not fallible, who is not all-knowing, who is not all-wise. So to me, those wouldn't be of the most beautiful names. The most beautiful names are the ones in which Allah has given us, which are free from those, from being able to draw any mental picture of God and how he looks. And again, this is true Tawheed, attributing this to one God, not multiple gods. As I said previously, that people throughout history, in ancient times, you okay? Okay. Through ancient times, they always, if you think about it this way, prophets were sent to all peoples, right? So God gave them his name and their language, and he probably also gave them attributes. However, people took his attributes as individual gods and started worshiping them individually instead of Allah in one. So again, Allah is bringing Al-Islam to complete and correct their religion, show that it is one God who has all these attributes. He is the loving, he is the wise, he is the merciful. They are not separate entities that need to be worshipped separately. So, let me see if I can get into just the 99 names as abruptly as I can, and then some of their explanation. So someone said, I was watching a lecture on the 99 attributes of Allah, and the guy said, he said, think about it. If you had time to think about it, how many names could you come up with? Even if you got 2 days or 2 weeks, could you come up with 99 names or 99 attributes for Allah? Like the most ingenious person, would they be able to come up with 99 attributes of Allah? Not to mention the other descriptions that I mentioned of Allah. So, it's of great importance that the Quran is filled with all of these attributes for Allah. It is making us recognize and understand the importance of the creator of the universe. And there are several derivatives of the same words. For instance, we all know Ar-Rahman and Ar-Rahim, right? The merciful benefactor, the merciful redeemer. So, but they have the same root, and having the same root, they take on different meanings. Obviously, if they have different vowels. So it's funny to see some of these words, and they have similar explanations or similar meanings, but they have some slight differentiation. For instance, I'm sorry, I just turned it off. Okay, Al-Malik, the eternal Lord, it is described here, or some people say the King, the sovereign Lord, the one with complete dominion, the one whose dominion is clear from imperfection, in that he is the King of Kings, the Lord of Lords. I know on the news they were talking about the president, right? And they said, I think this one guy said, this is what we should do. We should make him a king. In the same way they have a queen in Egypt. You know, she doesn't really have any title. You just call him that and then he'll be happy and then he won't be able to ruin anything else. So just put him in a castle and say he's the king. And every now and then he comes out, say I'm the king, and then goes back into his castle. But in this, Allah is the king. He has dominion over everything and all things. This is why we put our faith in Allah and not in human beings, not in presidents, not in princes, and not in kings. But also Allah is Al-Qudus, the most sacred, or some translated as holy, the one who is pure from any imperfections and clear from children or adversaries. Now there is this rapper who made this song called The God Box, right? And he made an album called The God Box, and he's talking about African Americans and their plight, and he's talking about religion. Now he mentioned specifically Christianity, and then he says another religion. He said, he says something like a slave master gave this to you, and the thing that he also said was, he said, the reason I don't believe in religion is because why would God make an adversary for him? Why would he make the devil who is combative against him? And in the same video, I was glad he did say this, however. He said, now I may contradict myself because I'm still learning. So what I believe now may not necessarily be the truth, but this is what I believe at this point. So I was glad that he still held it open, that he wasn't saying the right thing. He was sincere in what he was saying, but I don't believe that is to be accurate, mainly because the devil, Shaitan, Iblis, is not Allah's adversary. He is human. Allah has no adversaries. He has no counter equal. He has no equal. There's nothing that Shaitan can do without the permission of Allah. So human beings have a power over Shaitan. It is them who allow him to have influence. So it is not that Allah has created an adversary. That would make no sense, right? Why would he make somebody to rival him who is big and as strong as he is? But that's not the case. But at any rate, Allah is also As-Salam, the embodiment of peace, the one who is free from every imperfection. We say Assalamu alaikum because we are, as the Imam says, we are imparting, or we are wishing the peace of God on you. And Allah is the peace. The other one is Al-Mu'min, the infuser of faith, which says the one who witnesses for himself that there is no one who is God but him. He also witnesses for his believers that they are faithful in the belief that he is one God. The Al-Muhaymin, the preserver of safety. I think Muhaymin is also used for something like quality control, because it says the Quran is Muhaymin over previous scriptures. So it is a witness. And in this instance, he's talking about Allah. It says the one who witnesses the sayings and deeds of his creatures. So in the terms of the Quran, it is a witness and a safeguard over the previous scriptures. That's why we use it as a ruler to determine what is true and false in previous scriptures. The next one is Al-Aziz, the mighty one. Clearly that means he is the strong, the defeater who is never defeated. And this is something that I always thought about when I was a kid, is that Allah can never be defeated. When someone told me this, I knew that almost no other God could be God except God. I mean, no other religion could be true, in fact. Because if you use that criterion, that he is a defeater who cannot be defeated, all the other religions have a God who has been defeated or who needed help to defeat someone else. Al-Islam is the only, to me, the only true Tawheed, the only religion that gives Allah his just due. In that because sometimes in their saying, if you speak to someone and they're talking, they'll say Allah is one. They'll say Allah is all powerful, or God is all powerful. But in their scripture, it says something different. And other times it's vice versa. They may say in their speech, they may say God is not all powerful, but in their scripture it does. But in the Quran, in our speech and in our scripture, Allah is always the most powerful. He is always the most wise. He is never defeated, ever. Not even for a little bit of time. Some people say that he defeated death after he was killed and crucified, but he resurrected. But Allah he never loses at all. There's no redemption because he can't lose. The next one is Al-Jabbar, And this, now obviously, we know Kareem Abdul-Jabbar. It made me think about Muslims and the wisdom of naming yourself as a servant of Allah, using His attributes, because it's something that you are ascribing for, something that you are pointing towards, whether Muslims name themselves after prophets or as servants of Allah and some of His attributes. So they're saying, I want to rise to the level or the height of a human being in peace, or in worshiping Allah, or being the servant of Allah. I know some people name Abdul Ahad, the servant of the One, or, just the wisdom of using names of Allah to name yourself is something that I think is very important. The next one is Mutakabir, the dominant one, the one who is clear from the attributions of his of his creatures, and from resembling them. This is obviously, in the Quran when it says there's nothing comparable to Him. It's nothing that you can think of or imagine that is like Allah. And Al-Khaliq, the Creator, the one who brings everything from non-existence to existence. And I talked about that previously. Now, human beings can make things using the raw materials that Allah has given it, but Allah can make things from nothing, from nothingness. This is the power of being a true creator, is there is nothing, and then Allah created everything in existence. The next thing was Al-Bari, the evolver, the maker, the creator who has the power to turn the entities. The Al-Musawwir, the flawless shaper, the one who forms his creatures in different pictures. Now, I was thinking about, just think about this, if Allah was not the creator of everything, right? And everything came into existence through some kind of tornado, and all the metal was put together and then it's shaped into these different robots. How did they have distinctness? Like human beings have distinctness, we are all distinct from one another. This is the shaping of Allah into every human being, which also suggests that Allah has purpose and reason as angels do, just to do one thing and think one way. Allah made us different on purpose, so we can have the ability to appreciate Allah. The next one is Al-Ghafir, the great forgiver. The forgiver, the one who forgives the sins of his slaves time and time again. There's another one that we're going to look at that's similar to that one. And the next one is Al-Qahir, the all-prevailing one, the dominant, the one who has perfect power and is not unable over anything. Al-Wahhad, the supreme bestower, the one who is generous in giving plenty without any return. The next one is Ar-Razak, the true provider, the sustainer and the provider, which is similar to Rabb, or the Lord. The next one is Al-Fat, the supreme solver. The explanation for that is the opener, the reliever, the judge, the one who opens for his slaves the closed worldly and religious matters. Al-Alim, the all-knowing. So as I said previously, that everything of knowledge comes from Allah. Everything of truth comes from Allah. So it is not to be attributed to any human being that Allah is able to bestow some truth upon us. It is Him who is the knower of all truth. The next one is Al-Kabib, the restricting one, the restrictor, the withholder, the one who restricts the sustenance by His wisdom and expands and widens it with His generosity and His mercy. The Al-Basit, the extender, the enlarger, the one who constricts the sustenance by His wisdom and expands and widens it with His generosity and mercy. Again, Al-Kahid, the reducer, the abaser, the one who lowers whoever He wills by His destruction and raises whoever He wills by His endowment. Al-Rafi, the elevating one, the exalter, the elevator, the one who lowers whoever He wills by His destruction and raises who He wills by His mercy. Al-Mu'iz, the honorer and the bestower, He gives esteem to whomever he wills. And here. The other one I was talking about that was similar to that is Al-Ghafur, the great forgiver, the all-forgiving, the forgiving, the one who forgives a lot. Now I looked that up because I wanted to kind of figure out the difference between those two words. One of them was Ghafur and the other one was Ghafar. And they have the same root, which is G-F-R, right? So it says the root of Ghafur and Ghafar is the same, which does not necessarily mean to forgive, but rather to shield or to protect or to cover. It's like a helmet in Arabic is mikafir, has the same root, right? And it says the root of the word, actually, the first meaning is to cover, to veil, to conceal, or to hide. The second meaning is to pardon, to forgive, or to set aright. The third meaning is to cover a thing, to protect it, like to protect it from dirt. So Allah's name, Al-Ghafur, does not just mean that he forgives us. He also protects us and shields us from evil consequences of our own evil actions. He covers our sins while being fully aware of what they are. His perfect forgiveness is truly a sign of his ultimate mercy for us. So again, just Allah using the same attributes to one of them is just to describe that he forgives time and time again. And then it also says that the other attribute is that he is all forgiving, or he is the one who forgives. There's an attribute there's a story in the Bible when it says Jesus told someone, I forgive you on this day. But he also said, all power is given unto me. So, and is given unto me by God, right? So God is really the one who is forgiving him. He is just the conduit. He's just the door, or he's just the light switch. Allah is the one who is actually doing the forgiving. And there are several others. I didn't realize how long this was, so I'm going to go through all of those. As I mentioned, the other one was Al-Hakim, the wise one, the wise, the judge of judges, the one who was correct in his doing. And there was another one that had, so Hakim, and the other one was Al-Hakam. Linguistically, Hakim and Hakam have the same root. Hakam is the verb, the verbal noun, and an emphasis, the act of delivering justice, whereas Hakim refers to essential nature of the possessing of wisdom. Al-Hakam refers to the totality of Allah's power to judge and arbitrate with perfect justice and immense mercy, which cannot be compared with judging or arbitrating of any other creature. So Allah says, so Allah is the best of judges. So he says in the Quran, when he's dealing with you or when he is judging you, there will be no injustice done to you. In the khutbah on Friday, Brother Hamidullah was talking about Allah is the judge and the jury. So how can you have a mistrial, or how can you have injustice in your trial? In fact, he also uses you yourself to be a witness against yourself. Your hands, your feet, your body will be a witness against the actions that you committed in this world. So again, Allah is the most just. He is the most wise. He is the most. He is the King of kings, the Lord of lords, the Lord of knowledge and power. So that's, I'm going to end it there. Any questions or comments?
Question.
Yes, sir.
The brother's name you made him aware of, the brother's name that you made him aware of it being
Al-Hakim.
Okay. But then you do have attributes like Asabir, Al-Amin. Can you elaborate on those?
So that made me think about, I don't know for sure if I can elaborate on them, have the imam there, but Al-Amin is something that was attributed to the prophet, right? But this wasn't one of the attributes that was in the Quran. It's not the 99 attributes of Allah. But I understand what you're saying with that. So I would refer to the imam on that question, because it seemed like it was another one that I was thinking about when I was researching this, but I didn't write it down. It was something like,
the one that comes to me right now is Asabir.
Asabir.
Even though it don't say Al-Abir, Al-Sabir, but it says Asabir. And that's still what you call a definite article.
A definite article, yeah. So I don't know for sure about that. I know that the prophet was named them.
Okay. Oh, okay. So you'll come up with it.
Okay.
Okay.
Yes.
So, I was thinking about when you talk about the importance of having names and being yourself, and I was thinking about how, you know how you can see yourself in one way, but others see you very differently. So what do you think about the naming yourself or asking someone, you know, that you respect, you know, in religion today?
I think that's a great thing. I know, I think Mel asked for someone to give him his name, or at least his last name. I think that it's obvious to be someone of knowledge and knowledge of you. So that, I mean, I think that's a great thing, and it's something maybe to aspire to. It depends on the reason that they're giving it to you. Maybe they're giving it to you because they think you should work towards that, you know? So it's really, like, the imam is probably the one who is most, has the most authority to give someone a title like that. Particularly if they're a new revert to the religion. If you're born into Islam, and I mean, your parents probably choose your name for you, and that's probably what they want you to aspire to. But if someone chooses it for you, I think that's a very good idea, and I think that's again something to strive for. Or it could be something that they see in you. I thought about my sons, right? And they're kind of like yin and yang. They're kind of different, and they complement each other. I was thinking maybe I should have named my kids Musa and Harun. You know, one of them is outspoken, and the other one, both of them they really just complement each other. You know, and one of them is outspoken, and the other one is less what's the word for it? Less assertive. An introvert and extrovert. That's what it is. That's what I was thinking about. Yes.
Yeah, just going back to Elamine, I mean, I don't have enough knowledge of the 99 names, but I mean, could it be a matter of, I mean, it seems like the 99 names are kind of stating a fact. The most forgiving, whereas the trustworthy, it seems like something that you kind of earn, or something that's maybe bestowed upon you or something.
Well, this is how I explain my name. I've been always considered trustworthy. So when I chose a name, I chose that one too, so I could keep on enhancing that. But my understanding is that Allah is the trustworthy one. You definitely can depend on Him at all times. And
it's truth, so.
The truth, I mean,
yeah, you can't go beyond that. Yeah.
So it seems like that's just how you go there.
So yeah, I mean I don't know for sure. That would only be my my assessment as well. Is that trustworthy is something that you have to earn. Yeah, trustworthy is something that seems like you're aspiring to, and then somebody say, he's trustworthy. But you don't do that with Allah. Like Allah, he build up his trust. Now I trust in him. You know what I mean? So perhaps that is the reason that exists.
Yeah, just one more thing when you was talking about how Allah doesn't lose or whatnot. I mean, so something that kind of used to kind of resonate with me is how the Romans or the Roman Catholic Church, they took this religion of Jesus and they claimed he was God, but they killed him. Like the mighty Romans killed God.
Yeah.
That kind of seemed like the same stuff they've been doing, claiming for a long time, they mythology and all this.
Well, everyone who people considered to be God was at least captured and ultimately died. Allah is the self-sustaining, which means he's not born, he wasn't a little baby and somebody had to give him food and give him shelter, or he had to breathe air, or any of those things. It brings to mind Rastafari, Haile Selassie. He was a Christian. And by all accounts, he believed in Christianity. He was an emperor of Ethiopia, and he was in battle. He was losing the battle. He had to come to America to seek help. He went to the UN and tried to seek equality for black people. And ultimately, the Russian government hired some Ethiopians to put him under house arrest, and they seized him and all of his power. And it is reported that his bones was put underneath the toilet stool, and that's what they used. They used the bathroom like on him, on his bones. So it's, obviously people who believe in Rastafarianism don't believe that, but he ultimately died. The same way with, I remember Yahweh ben Yahweh, his followers said, you can't put God in jail, but then they put him in jail. Jesus was, according to Christianity, was captured, whipped, spit on, and killed. None of that can happen to Allah. I often ask, like, would you rather a God who none of that can happen to, and he can still do what the God you believe in does? I mean, it's reasonable, rational, and logical, and fair. I mean, I would prefer. So when I was a kid, I was taught that you can't do anything to God. Like, these attributes were cemented in my mind even before I could understand any other thing. So when they told me something different, I'm like, you told me God can't lose. And he just lost. You know what I mean? Like, he might have won according to you later, but he lost. In the same way in Hinduism, they have gods that one god lost his wife, and then he had to get another god to help him get his wife back. None of that happens to Allah. I mean, so and then you see how using attributes and calling them God individually, how that causes so much problem. Because if you just have a God he is the embodiment of wisdom. So what about love? What about, the other attribute I wish I'd gotten to was, I think it was Wadud, the loving. In the Quran, it's also it's translated as loving kindness or something like that, or Allah has loving kindness. Because, Christians often say, that people believe that Allah is some God just of wrath. They equate him with the God of the Jewish Torah. Now, he was just the God of retribution, but Allah is also the God of love and mercy. Mercy and compassion is mentioned far more times than him being the God of wrath. But people don't look at Allah in that way. Unfortunately, people who are not Muslims, So it's up to us, I guess, to accentuate that as much as possible. That he's saying repeatedly, I'm the merciful benefactor, the merciful redeemer, over and over again. I'm the most merciful. We're doing the benefits of fasting and how Allah is giving you ways to forgive you. I mean, like, how else can you be more loving and more merciful than to say, all right, I know you did those things. Another person who was a lecturer said, you should never say anything bad or look down upon non-Muslims, because in a moment they can be better than you in terms of, as soon as if they take Shahada, or the Shahadatain, and become Muslims, they are perfect. All of their record is wiped clean. So immediately they have less sins than you as soon as they become a Muslim. So he said, I never look down on people who are not Muslim, because one day they may be, and their slate is wiped clean immediately. That's mercy. You know what I mean? That's true compassion. Is when you find the truth. Allah says, all this time up to here, you were trying to find the truth. I'm not even going to count that. When you found the truth is when I wipe your slate clean and moving forward, you know the truth, and I'll judge you on that. I mean, how more just, how more merciful can you be? All right. Assalamu alaikum.
To say to you that Allah has more than 99 attributes. It's one that I've been trying. I was sitting there trying to think of it as he was talking, and when it comes back to me, I'll share it with you. So I want everybody to be clear on that the 99 are the 99 most popular names of Allah. Okay. The other issue had to do with Rabb. Rabb is not as he said, it's not an attribute. Actually, those 99 that we talked about, that he talked about rather, are names, right? Rabb is a quality of Allah. فَبِأَيِّ آلَاءِ رَبِّكُمَا تُكَذِّبَانِ. Which of the two favors of your one Lord will you deny? So, Rabbikuma, the two favors of your one Lord will you deny? So the word Rabb is used there. Rabb is used in the Al-Fatiha. And it's a trait of Allah. It's a characteristic of Allah, that he has the ability to, Rabb is a rich term, in fact. It means creator. It means nourisher. It means evolver and many other descriptions it has, that word Rab. I was blessed to be in a session with Imam Muhammad once, Washington, D.C., and he talked on about 2 hours just on the word Rab, just what that word means, just 2 hours. I mean, he gave volumes and volumes of knowledge and information on it. So I wanted to address that. The other thing that came to my mind was the question that the rapper posed,
Yeah.
which a lot of people have posed. The question that the rapper posed was, why would God create an adversary, which is the devil, right? So years ago, I was given a khutbah in the masjid in Washington, D.C. And I forgot what my subject was, but I mentioned in my khutbah that Allah did not create the devil. So after Jum'ah that day, I had about 4 or 5 brothers approach me. And they, Imam, you made a mistake. You know, you say Allah did not create the devil. And Allah is the creator of everything. He did not create the devil. So, you know, it's a good question. It's a good question. But there's an answer to that. And, you know, I didn't want to keep going back and forth with them, but I shared with them what I'm going to share with you all now. That Allah did not create the devil. Man created the devil through his disobedience to Allah. What Allah created is the human person and gave the human person limited free will to do right or to do wrong, which is something that he did not give the angel, right? He didn't give it to the angel. The angel has no ability to disobey Allah. But the human being does, doesn't he? And that's because Allah gave the human being limited free will. So if you go back to the description that we're given in the Bible, and it's also addressed in the Quran about Adam in the garden. Okay, what happened? He disobeyed. He disobeyed. Now, he was forgiven. He was forgiven. But any act of disobedience is what brings on the devil. So man, through his disobedience to his Creator, to his Lord, to his God, is what brought on the devil. That's what brought on the devil. So not that Allah created. So if you understand what I'm saying, that when you keep disobeying Allah, you make yourself a devil. You become a devil. You can become a devil. Now you won't be the big devil unless you have a certain degree of knowledge. Because the shaitan, so you know, he said Iblis, right? There's Iblis, one of the names of the devil, and it's usually Iblis is translated devil. And then there's shaitan, another name for the devil. And there are other names for the devil in the Quran. We don't normally hear of those names, but there are other names for the devil. Again, I'm trying to think of another one that comes to my mind.
Arch deceiver?
Huh?
Arch deceiver?
Yeah, arch deceiver is a characteristic, but I'm talking about actual.
Oh, man.
That's one of his qualities. But one of his traits, I would say. But there's an actual name, other names for the devil. And the one that I'm thinking about has something to do with Christmas. They call the Grinch. The Grinch. It'll come to me later on. It'll come to me later on. Okay. Something else I want to address. Elamim.
Yeah.
Okay, Elamim. Okay. Allah says in the Quran, Tawakkal ala Allah. Put your trust in God. Put your trust in God. So one of his attributes is El-Wakil. El-Wakil. He is the trustworthy one. So if you study this, you'll find that there are attributes that Allah has made known to us that says to us that when it comes to trust, see that term wakil, el-wakil, that name embodies and covers all the trust. El-Amin covers a specific type of trust. Y'all follow me? And so when Allah has already made known to us a name, an attribute that covers the whole spectrum, then you will find that this was and even if you talk about Muhammad the prophet, prayers and peace be upon him, that was not his name,
Right.
right? Now many Muslims have taken on El-Amin as a name. And some, I know, I'm not sure this was your reason behind it, but I know that there are many Muslims who will spell it in the English transliteration, they will spell it EL-Amin instead of AL-Amin. I'm not sure if that was your reasoning behind it or not, but
I wasn't that deep into it.
Okay.
I was just dealing with the trustworthy part.
Okay.
And I didn't know about the
yeah, okay, so now, whether you spell it EL-Amin or AL-Amin, it doesn't matter. Because in Arabic it's the same.
Right.
But I think that those who spell it EL-Amin, they do that to try to suggest to someone or to make it known that I'm not saying I'm El-Amin. So they spell it a different way, but it doesn't make any difference how you spell it.
I got you.
But that was not even the name of Prophet Muhammad, prayers be upon him. That was not his name. His name was Muhammad ibn Abdullah, right? That was his name. El-Amin was a title that was given to him because he was trusted among the people. They gave him that name. In fact, it wasn't that Allah bestowed that title on him. The people gave him that name because when they would leave their home and they would travel somewhere. Some of them would take they were smaller items, they would take them and carry them to him and ask them to keep this for me while I'm gone. As we might say to one another, take care of this while I'm gone. I'm going to be out of town. I'm going to be traveling. Watch this while I'm gone. And when they came back, their possessions, their items were intact. And now these were not people who were, actually this was before he became prophet. Messenger of God, before it was made known, I should say, that he was to be the last prophet and the messenger of Allah. He had that type of trait and characteristic quality about him. They gave him that name. They also called him As-Sadiq. As-Sadiq means the one who is truthful. Sadiq means, has another meaning, I'm trying to think, but let me just stay with this right now. Truthful. He was known to tell the truth. So he wasn't, and this again, he had these qualities before it was made known or was pronounced that he was the last prophet and messenger of God. The people saw him as a person who was truthful in his speech. He didn't sugarcoat anything because, oh, that's my brother, or that's my wife, or that's my daughter, my son, my cousin. So I'm not going to tell the truth here. And he was trustworthy, regardless of whether it was someone who had a liking for him or a disliking for him. If they gave him something or entrusted something in his care, he took care of it. So I hope that deals a little bit with the term El-Amin. And maybe there's some other thing that came up.
But I wanted to know, is anything incorrect about naming yourself that?
No,
Okay.
no, there's nothing incorrect about naming yourself that. But I just wanted to make it clear that we have to remember that that was really not the name of Prophet Muhammad. That was a title that was given to him by people who were really not Muslim. They were Muslim perhaps in nature, but not in knowledge. They had not arrived at that level. Also, when you look at the word Amin, it comes from what's the root of the word? Amina, which means what?
Truth.
Huh?
Truth and belief.
Belief. A believer. A believer. And if you study, and I don't have time to do it right now to go through all, but if you study the attribute of Allah, where he says, he is the trustworthy one. All the trust. El-Wakil. And then you will start to seeing, oh, I can see why El-Wakil, you can't take El-Amin and put El Amin above El Wakil.
Right.
So even though in English, both of them are translated as trustworthy. You understand my point? Okay.
The supreme trustworthy
Right. Yeah.
degrees to.
Yeah. So that's like it's like the devil. You know, there's small devils, and then there's the big devil, the Shaitan. He's a big devil. So it's the small devil is one who's under influence, and we can become devilish. We can become devilish, follow the ways of the devil, while being a believer. And sometimes we do it consciously, and sometimes we do it unconsciously. And I have to say, emphasize, sometimes we do it consciously. Because we say, look, I'm just going, right now I'm just going to eat this pork chop, because I ain't had no pork chop in a long time. I know Muslims not supposed to eat it, but man, I miss, that's one thing I just can't, oh Allah forgive me, but all right, so you follow the ways of the devil. And there are other things, other areas where in our life as people on earth, we have weaknesses for certain things. And so we break out of the structure and the guidance, get away from the guidance of Allah and the path that Allah wants us on. Then we get on the path of the devil. We start to follow the devil. And we can become devilish. We can become small devils in a sense. But we are not the Shaitan. Because the Shaitan is one who is an ancient schemer and planner of evil. You know? So was there something else that
Well, I just got a little bit of ambiguity left with the L thing, because he corrected somebody, or to the best of his ability, saying that you can't be that, so why you name yourself that? So,
Yeah, so we have to say Abdul Mutakabbir. Abdul Mutakabbir. Abdul or Abdus Salam. Abdus Salam. Or you can say Abdul as Salam. But you're saying, I'm the servant of As-Salam, the source of all peace. You know, I'm the servant. Because when you say Abdul, you're saying I'm the servant of the one who is As-Salam. And then there's certain names that is recommended that you take on as what we call in English a surname, first name. You know, that the brother who had that name, all he had to do is put Abdul in front of it, or he could have merged it and just say, like you say, Abdul Salam, Abdul Muhammad. Then you would say Abdul Muhammad, Abdus. Abdul Kahar, you mentioned that, I think. Kahar is one of the names, he mentioned that in his talk, and that's one of the names of Allah, one of the attributes as he gave it. But it also is a name of Egypt, and it was called that as a city, and it's because the term means to overwhelm you. It means to also, in addition to what Ishmael gave in his presentation, it also means to overwhelm you. So Egypt was said to be a city that, because of all the pyramids and the giant structures that they had created out of stone and brick and whatever, when a person came into that environment, and the hieroglyphics, you know, the strange symbolic knowledge system, a language system that they had called hieroglyphics, all of that would overwhelm the average person when they come into that environment. So that was also one of the names of Egypt that was given to Egypt.
I think what he was mentioning was with Hakeem, you know, is specifically a name that's in the Quran of Allah, where Al Amin is.
Right.
When I saw Al Hakim, I knew there was an attribute of Allah.
Yeah.
I'm trying to create some
Yeah.
name of Allah.
So El Amin is not, as
Right.
you know, it's not an attribute of Allah. Yeah. So, and again, you got the definite article in front of it.
Mhm.
The definite article is in front of it. Two things have to be borne in mind. One is that Allah did not give him that name. I'm sorry, Allah did not take that name on for himself or make it known to us that he wanted to be referred to as El-Amin. And he did not bestow that name upon Muhammad the Prophet. The Arabs, people who lived in the environment, gave him that name. They gave him that title. So even with the definite article being in front of it, and then as I mentioned about the term Wakil, El-Wakil, you know, it covers all the trusts, all the trusts. So was there something else that I hope I covered everything that I was thinking about as he was presenting. Yeah.
I do we kind of got some, going back to the concept, I guess, with the devil coming out of you.
Mhm.
It seems, I'm curious if you think it ties into this, but it seems like it ties into, there's a story in the Gospel of Barnabas.
Mhm.
I think it's relating back to stories that are in the Gospel about where the Pharisees was trying to trip up Jesus when they asked him a question. Jesus was saying that it's not what goes into the person but what comes out of the person that where sin comes or something like that. And then one of the Pharisees said something like, well, if someone eats pork or something, will they not become defiled? Yeah,
Mhm.
It's not what goes into the person that defiles, but what comes out.
Mhm.
And then Jesus said, it's not it's not the pork that will defile them, but the disobedience. That by them eating pork, they're disobedient to
Yeah.
God, and that's what comes out defile them.
Yeah.
Is that kind of? I think that's kind of tied into.
Yeah, I think Jesus was trying to tell them the same thing I'm saying right here, right now. I think he was trying to say the same thing, that it's the disobedience. Because actually, what created that whole situation about eating the pork, putting something in the body that defiles the body, if you obeyed Allah, obeyed God, you wouldn't do it in the first place. So that would negate everything. That would negate it from the beginning. You wouldn't have the situation. You wouldn't have the problem. You know, once you take something into yourself, you know, because let's face it, ideas come to us, right? Things come to us, and we're tempted by the Satan. Hey, once you do this, hey man, there's some money over there that nobody's looking, and you know, on the counter, laying on the counter over there, you know, or there's a pretty girl, and there's a handsome guy, and you know, and there's an opportunity for me to get with them, and you know, all kinds of things. Even while you're praying, you know, if you're not careful, the ideas of the devil come into your mind, even when it's time to pray. You know, it's Satan will tell you, look, man, you're tired. Satan will tell you, you're tired. Now, I'm not talking about some person that comes right up and they'll tell you that like that, but I'm saying it's the influence. Satan doesn't have to be present. He's present. If his influence is there, he's there. And that's all it takes, is the influence of the Satan to be present. To say, hey, man, you don't need to pray. You know, forget that. That ain't nothing but a ritual anyway. You know, so what you praying for? You know, forget that, man. When you get to the masjid, pray when you get to the masjid, so that people can see you praying and they think you with them and everything. You know, Satan and Satan whispers, and as the Imam said, you waswisu fi sudurin nas. He whispers into the hearts. The sudur is this area right here. It's the chest, but it's more specific to the heart. The heart that's in this area here. It's another term, I don't want to take too much time, but it's another term also that is in a Quranic expression about the breast. You know, Allah says to Muhammad the Prophet that he has expanded his breast. And they translated breast. Expanded his breast. But it's talking about the chest, but more specifically it's talking about the heart. And the reason Allah told Muhammad the Prophet that in the Quran is so that he wanted his interest to be bigger than just the interest for himself. So he expanded his heart, his chest, his breast, for him, but for him to have a bigger interest in the world. In other words, charity, as Imam Muhammad said, he said, Africa is in bad shape. He said, now, if we become successful as businessmen and businesswomen in America, he said, shouldn't we take some of our wealth and our money and whatnot and share it with our brothers and sisters in Africa? He said, after all, that's where we came from. That's our mother country. He said, shouldn't we take some of our resources and share it with them? So that's the concept right there, is a concept that speaks to expanding the breast. So in other words, now we got something, but do we just want to keep it for ourselves, or do you want to share it with the city? You want to share it with the state? You want to share it with the nation? Share it with the world? And when your breasts start getting real big, your interests become global. Your interest is not just, hey, for me and my family. Hey, man, I got a good job, I got a good wife, my children are in school, they're obedient, I ain't got no problem, so everybody, you on your own. Every man and woman for themselves. We got people that think like that, I'm telling you. You all know this. You know, people make money, they got good jobs, they don't give no money to the masjid. If they do, they give a very small amount in proportion to what they should be given. They come into money. People come into money. They give a very small amount, real stingy, you know, and they keep the rest for themselves. They don't give it to the masjid. They don't give it to the green. We've got the Green Crescent, Red Cross, and Muslims got an organization called the Green Crescent, I think. And it's to say, y'all Christians got the Red Cross as a charitable organization. Muslims got the Green Crescent. I guess Green Crescent, I forgot the color, but I believe it's Green Crescent. But it's just like the Red Cross, but it's just that Muslims have. See, you know what? Red Cross, a lot of times that goes right by us. We don't start to think that that's a Christian organization. But they're doing good. You can't deny that they do good. I mean, because if your house gets flooded, and you go there and you say, you go to them and you say, look, we had a flood, we had a hurricane, I need somewhere to live, I need to be put up in a hotel overnight, me and my family, we need something to eat and whatever. They don't ask you, hey, are you Muslim? Oh, you Muslim? Okay, I can't help you. They don't say that, do they? They're not supposed to say that. By law, based on the structure that they have, they're not supposed to say that. Well, I don't want to belabor y'all, hold you all up, but I hope I answered all the questions. Did I? Okay, alhamdulillah. Thank you all. Alhamdulillah. Be seen.